Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today I'm going to be playing another quick draft of my favorite draft format that came out this year, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. This is a really cool format. It's got ninjas with ninjutsu, it's got equipment creatures, which is super cool for artifact fans like myself. It's just got a lot of very cool stuff going on, flip sagas and tons of enchantment creatures and stuff like that. So really cool, really synergy driven draft format, and I'm excited to hop into another draft today. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Our rare is pretty powerful. Invoke Justice here for 5 mana. You're getting to return a permanent from your graveyard to the battlefield and put 4 +1/+1 counters distributed any way you choose among your creatures and vehicles, if that matters. However, even though this is really powerful, it is also incredibly restrictive. Quadruple white is a really hard sell, even in a 2-color deck, but especially if you're splashing a 3rd color, this is impossible. If you're monocolor, this is just going to be a great card, but it's kind of hard to go monocolor in this format, so usually you have to be 2 colors and be really heavy into white for this card to work, so a little too restrictive for my taste. I'm probably going to take one of the pretty sweet uncommons or commons here. The best uncommon being Nezumi Prowler, great little ninjutsu card, and at common we have Imperial Oath, one of the best commons in the whole format, spitting out 3 2/2s and scrying 3 for 6 mana, so it's giving you 6 power and toughness for 6 mana and scrying 3, which at that point in the game can equate into a good amount of basically card draw if you're dumping lands on the bottom of your library. So huge fan of Imperial Oath. Huge fan of Moonsnare Specialist as well, one of the best common ninjutsu cards, and Jukai Preserve is pretty solid too. But I'm just going to roll off the bat with an Imperial Oath here. This card did a boatload of work in our last Kamigawa Neon Dynasty quick draft. It really turned every game around as soon as we cast it. We could be getting beaten down by early aggressive decks, and if we just make it to 6 mana, bam, stop all of their attacks and set up our next draws to really take over the game. So Imperial Oath, just a ridiculously good card. I'm just going to start with that. And now, speaking of ridiculously good cards, we have a beautiful uncommon in this pack, and that is Behold the Unspeakable. This is a 5 mana saga to give creatures -2/-0 till next turn. And then we get to scry 2 and draw 2 cards, or if we only have 1 card in our hand when the second part triggers, so we'd have to empty our hand completely for that to work, we get to draw 4 cards if that's the case. And then this turns into a flying, trampling creature with power and toughness equal to the number of cards in hand. So that can, if we sit there with a bunch of cards in hand, become a win condition for us, or if we need to keep casting spells to stay ahead and to stay alive, then we can just try to ninjutsu that creature back to our hand to recast Behold the Unspeakable and really ruin somebody's day. So Behold the Unspeakable, incredible uncommon here, easily the best card out of this pack. We're just going to slam dunk that. Pick 3 here. This pack is a lot more flexible. I'm probably going to go with Moonsnare Specialist here. It's one of the better ninjutsu cards at common, and I really like the synergy with ninjutsu cards and the flip sagas in this format, especially ones with really powerful abilities like Behold the Unspeakable. So big fan of going with Moonsnare Specialist here. There are definitely other options. There's Era of Enlightenment, which is another powerful flip saga. Scry 2, gain 2, get a 2/2 first strike. A lot of stats for only 2 mana. Most of the flip sagas are just like a really efficient amount of stats for their mana cost. The drawback is that they're kind of slow. They don't immediately give you all of that value, but they're pretty much all worth it. All the flip sagas are just great. So that's another really good card in this pack. There's also Suit Up, which is a really nice combat trick, making your creature big enough to win almost any fight and drawing a card as well. And then a decent instant speed card, draw spell, Thirst for Knowledge. Pretty great pack here, but I'm going to go with Moonsnare Specialist alongside Behold the Unspeakable. And for pack 1, pick 4. It's actually going to be a really difficult pack. Wow, this is a beautiful draft pod to be in. We are getting past some very good cards. There's Okiba Reckoner Raid, which is the highest win rate common in the whole format. It's just ridiculously fast. It's another one of these flip sagas. By the time that this flips and starts attacking, you've spent 1 mana to drain your opponent for 2 life and get a 2/2 menace, which is absolutely absurd. Incredibly efficient, incredibly cheap for that. There's also another Moonsnare Specialist. There's a Virus Beetle, one of the best cards to pick up with your ninjutsu cards, and a Naomi as a huge bomb sort of win condition for any deck with a decent amount of artifacts and enchantments, and there are plenty in the format. Super hard choice here. Seeing two premium black cards, Virus Beetle and Okiba Wreck and Raid, and still a premium blue card, Moonsnare Specialist in here, makes me feel like blue-black is decently open here to push into an aggressive ninja strategy that can use the Okiba Wreck and Raid really well, because you're beating down with it super quickly, and it's also an easy way to get one of your ninjutsu cards down, so big fan of Okiba Wreck and Raid. I might roll with that here. Could see an argument for Naomi, but I'm not 100% convinced that white is open at this point. We're only 4 picks in, so it's a little early to say, but definitely blue and black are looking pretty spicy for us. And we're already 2 cards deep into blue. That's going really well. I'm going to take this Okiba Reckoner Raid. Again, all of these picks are excellent. Reckoner Raid, Naomi, Virus Beetle, Moonsnare Specialist, but I'm going to go with the Reckoner Raid here. All right, pack 1, pick 5, we've got a Circuit Mender, which is always very nice. Enters the battlefield, gains 2 life, leaves the battlefield, you draw a card, so great with ninjutsu, great with sacrifice. Nezumi Prowler is a very cheap ninjutsu card that has a very good enter the battlefield effect, giving something Death Touch lifelink. There's a second copy of Imperial Oath. Well, I am happy to be in blue, black, and white here. Don't know which colors I'm really supposed to be focused in on the most. I want to take this Imperial Oath here. And I think I'm just going to do that. Maybe I get to be like blue-black ninjas and the only white cards in the whole deck are just Imperial Oaths. That does not sound bad at all. Suit Up is a really nice combat trick for ninja decks, or any deck for that matter. But that way you attack him with something, like a Virus Beetle or something like that. If your opponent blocks, you Suit Up, and if they don't block, you ninjutsu. That way you have a really good plan no matter what happens. Pretty big fan of Suit Up, I'll take it here. Befriending the Moths is fine. I think Suit Up's a bit better though. That's about it in our colors. Synthesizer, another good card in the pack, but not really playing with any red right now. Alright, pack 1, pick 7. This is where things are kind of drying up. Nothing's really good for any deck in this pack. It's a very mediocre removal spell, Death to the Kami, mediocre discard, Kaito's Pursuit, and some mediocre red creatures. Kind of just a pack full of nonsense, not really missing much here, so I'm just going to rare draft for Vault Progress. Alright, pick 8. Certainly some playable cards in this one. We've got another copy of Suit Up, or we've got an Era of Enlightenment, and that is a pick 8 Era of Enlightenment, which is a pretty good sign there. Maybe we are blue-white instead of blue-black. We are only 1 card deep into black, so didn't miss on too many picks dabbling in a color that we don't end up playing here. I'm going to scoop up Era of Enlightenment here, see if we are just going to be blue-white stuff. Alright, no white cards in here. The black cards are just okay, like Dokuchi's Shadow Walker and Unforgiving One. Both of these are just okay. Really not going to have a lot of modified creatures in our deck, so Unforgiving One, just a 3 mana, 2/3 menace, a little slow. Do like the Shadow Walker, it's fine. Probably best card there. Alright, well, we're some combination of blue, white, and black. Guess we'll find out soon. We could take Ecologist's Terrarium. This would be an easy way for us to put these Imperial Oaths in here, even if we're blue-black at the core. Could also take the Clawing Torment. This card is good in aggressive decks, and ninja decks tend to be pretty aggressive. This card can be solid there. Shut off a creature's ability to block, which is the most important ability of the creature if you are on the aggressive, and you make your opponent lose a life every turn. Calming of Restless Shadows always feels a little bit too slow for what it's doing, but it is a good amount of value. You know, 5 mana for 3/3, pick up a ninja from your grave. But it just feels a little slow for that value. I think it's Terrarium or Clawing Torment here. I'll go with the Clawing Torment. Did some splashy 3-color stuff yesterday. I'm going to try to see if we can just narrow into 2 of these 3 colors. But we'll see based on what we open in pack 2. Take some filler stuff. And some more filler stuff. And now we open up that second pack. Hopefully open up some sweet stuff. Well, we did open up some sweet stuff. A little awkward though. I mean, Farewell's really, really good. But we are now 4 cards deep into black versus 3 cards deep into white. And we also have the best common for this archetype and the best common in the set period, Okiba Reckoner Raid in here. Okiba Reckoner Raid versus Farewell is really difficult because these push our decks into very different directions. While Farewell is probably the stronger card, it's the biggest blowout, it's just a bomb that immediately is going to flip the game into your favor. It's going to push our deck in a much more controlling, slow direction, which isn't really what I enjoy doing that much. It's not what I'm in the mood for today. I'd like to just beat some faces, and that's what Okiba Reckoner Raid is beautiful at. I mean, there's almost no way that it's correct to take Okiba Reckoner Raid. And we have some good control cards. I mean, Scrying 3, Imperialists are great late game. Air of Enlightenment, Scry 2, Gain 2. Those keep you in the game a long time. Behold the Unspeakable is a big control card. Yeah, I guess we take the Farewell here. We push towards blue-white control. That's where it's at. Well, uh-oh. Things are a bit awkward here because now we open two really good cards for that blue-black ninjutsu deck, and I'm wishing that I just took the Reckoner Raid. Because the two best cards in this pack, in my opinion, are the Long Reach of Knight, a black saga. 4 mana, each opponent sacks a creature unless they discard a card. They do that twice. Then you flip this into an 0/4 menace that gets +X for each creature in defending player's graveyard. So this is a 3-for-1 no matter what. They have to sacrifice 2 things or discard 2 things, and then you get a creature of your own. And it's even better if you can ninjutsu it. And then there's Silver for Master, which is good if you have a lot of ninjas in the deck. It's going to give them all +1/+1. I'm just going to go with the Long Reach of Knight here. It's a really good card for a ninjutsu deck. It's a really good card for a control deck. Just a super good piece of value there. We're just going to scoop that up, and who knows, maybe we are all 3 of these colors. In the end, some kind of 3-color controlling pile. Imperial Oath number 3, come on in. Imperial Oath, one of the only 6 drops in the game that you're kind of okay with playing like 7 copies of, because they just loop into each other. You keep scrying them into the next copy, and it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where Imperial Oath into Oath into Oath into Oath, and you're just never going to lose at that point. Circuit Mender is pretty sweet too. There's definitely an alternate universe where I did just go with what I wanted to do and took Okiba Reckoner Raid there. Pick one, and then Long Reach of Night, and then like Circuit Mender here. And we're much more committed to just like blue-black ninjas, but looks like it's going to be another 3-color splashy pile today. But that's okay, because we've got some very powerful stuff. And we're not getting a lot of ninjas here. Pick 4, there's like no creatures in blue, black, or white. There's one Saga, but it's really slow. Not the greatest. We probably just take the removal spell here, Tamiyo's Completion. Now, we're not going to be aggressive enough to use this Clawing Torment. We actually probably have to cut the first one. I think Prodigy's Prototype's been pretty decent. I almost never played this card, though, because I almost never ended up in blue-white. But I remember every time I played against it, I was not a huge fan, which usually means it's a pretty good card. So 3 mana for a 3/4 vehicle, cruise 2. Whenever one of our vehicles attack, get a 1/1 that can crew it. Yeah, kind of a snowbally effect. Just rolls into more and more dudes. Seems fine. Prodigy's Prototype. Alright, second Prodigy's Prototype. That seems pretty reasonable. They're really good with Farewell as well. Because Farewell, we can choose to exile all creatures, enchantments, and graveyards, and just don't exile artifacts. That way we can board wipe and still kind of have creatures left over if we have vehicles in the deck. So Prodigy's Prototype number 2 seems pretty sweet. Alright, now there's a Shrine Steward here, which is pretty good when you have aura-based removal spells, or any shrines, obviously. But we do have one aura-based removal spell, the Tamiyo's Completion. So 5 mana for a 3/2, draw a removal spell every time we play it. Seems good to me. Definitely better than Gardens of Aboro or Lucky Offering or any of that stuff. Maybe Undercity Scoundrel since we're like 3-color nonsense, but we might be able to narrow into blue-white with double Prodigy's Prototype. Lethal Exploit is fine. But I am considering cutting down on black a bit, have black just be kind of a splash. And Network Disruptor is very good with ninjutsu cards. We don't have very many of those, though. We just have one Moonsnare Specialist if I'm not playing black. But it's also just a fine 1-drop. I mean, a 1-mana, 1/1 flyer. Never, like, absolutely unplayable, and it has a good ETB. I'm just going to go with the Network Disruptor. Maybe I'm supposed to take Terrarium here so I can, you know, blue-white splash a Long Reach of Night or something. But we look like we're actually in a reasonable position to just be blue-white control and be pretty obnoxious about it. Although for blue-white control, Network Disruptor is adding very little to our deck, but if we get past more ninjutsu cards, it is going to be a good card to have. So it's a little speculative to take Network Disruptor, because we're kind of hoping for more ninjutsu. Terrarium is like, we can take Terrarium and then much more reasonably just like throw a Long Reach of Night in here, which is a very good control card. I guess I'll go Terrarium here. Network Disruptor might be a little too speculative there. Usually a very good card, but not in this deck. We don't have that much ninjutsu. We're not actually like blue-black ninjas. I mean, I guess I did cut a ton of black cards there. A lot of our black is really filler, though. Death to the Kami, Enormous Energy Blade, Kaito's Pursuit, really bad. Clawing Torment, only good if we're aggressive. Chainflow Centipede, pretty filler if we're aggressive. Yeah, no, the quality in black is just not there. Probably want to take the fish here. 4 mana, 3/3 flyer. Again, I only have 1 aura, so I don't want to stock up on Shrine Stewards. Because if I draw a second Shrine Steward when I have no auras left in the deck, it's just going to be really bad. A 5 mana 3/2 that does nothing. I'll take a Sky Swimmer Koi, good fish. 4 mana 3/3 flying fish. Silver for Master this late. That's kind of weird. Super late Silver for Master, but we saw very few ninjas. We did see a Mukutai Ambusher there. But I remember, like, you know, pick 5 through pick 7 or something felt like there were no ninja creatures. At least no ninjutsu cards. I mean, I'll still just take this thing. There's nothing else I'm playing. I'm definitely not playing Anchor to Reality. It's cute, but pretty hard to get to trigger. And not really worth that mana cost. Guardians of Oboro, sure, I'll take a big chunky blocker for my controlling strategy. Yeah, late Anchor to Reality. Fill that vault progress nice and fast. And what do we have here? Pack 3, pick 1. Well, my favorite card in blue and white in this pack is pretty easily the Modern Age. 1 in a blue, you get to draw a card, discard a card, draw a card, discard a card, and then get a 2/3 flyer. Again, all these flip sagas always great. Pretty happy to scoop that up. Tawashi Guidebot's also fine. A little slow, but our deck definitely could use a slow little card draw engine. So that would be a fine pickup. Not too much else here. There's like the Lethal Exploit for a little removal off the Black Splash. Mech Titan Core. Try to live the dream, but this is not a deck that can do that. We do not have enough artifact creatures and vehicles. It would be pretty hard to trigger this and get that 10/10. But it is cute. It's very cute. It's fun build around to attempt, but never what you want to do if you're strictly just trying to win. And yeah, it's never going to happen in this deck at this point in the draft. Imperial Oath number 4. Alright, pack 3, pick 3. Another Modern Age, don't mind if I do. Another 2-drop creature. Doesn't immediately block, but it will soon enough, and it'll be a 2/3 flyer there, which is quite nice. Narika Yamazaki's nice too. Repel the Vial's fine. About it. Kunai's fine. Sky Swimmer Koi's fine, but I love me a Modern Age, and we'll grab another one. Ooh, this pack is a complete miss. Pack 3, pick 4. Unfortunate. I suppose we are taking a Gravelighter in black. Pack 3, pick 5. Guess we're taking a Network Disruptor now. There's nothing else we can really do here in blue-white. I guess there's the Kunai. We are quite low on removal, aren't we? 4 creatures, though. 4 creatures. How many sagas? 5 sagas? We basically 9 creatures in the deck. So it's pretty hard to slap a Kunai onto something when you have 9 total creatures in the deck. I guess I'm taking Disruptor. We're going to have very low removal count, though. We can't use Ninja's Kunais effectively. Tranquil Cove is fine, and Sunblade Samurai is also fine. Kind of a flip card. Pull a land out when you need it with the channel ability and just play a 4/4 Vigilance when you need it. This is actually probably pretty good in our deck. I mean, we have 5 6 mana cards. So we're actually going to need to hit those high mana costs quite often. I'm actually going to take Sunblade Samurai over the Tranquil Cove. I feel like we'll be channeling this actually a decent amount of the time, gain a little bit of life to stem the bleeding in the early game, and also set up our Farewell and Imperial Oaths. Make sure we get 6 lands turn 6. 2 mana 1/3 would be fine. 2 mana 2/1 that draws a card when it leaves the battlefield would be fine, but also black-white dual land would be pretty great. Do need 2 more playables. Play a 17 land deck, but with a full play set of Imperial Oath, we're almost definitely an 18 land deck, because we're really trying to consistently have 6 lands on turn 6, which means we want a really high land count, and then we can utilize our 4 Imperial Oaths to make it so it doesn't feel like we have 18 lands from that point on, because we scry away every land after we make it to 6 mana. I mean, the odds of us having Imperial Oath turn 6 with a full playset in a 40-card deck are incredibly high. That's 1 out of every 10 cards, and by turn 6, even if we're on the play, we'll have drawn 12 cards total out of our deck. Because 7, we don't draw on turn 1, but then we draw the next 5 turns. So turn 6 Imperial is pretty much always the play. We can run an 18 land deck here, maybe even a 19 if we don't get any more playables. So I'm going to take Scoured Barrens here. And Network Disruptor is a fine playable. We'll put that in there. And now that's the deck. 18 lands, and we're good. But we've got another very reasonable card, a Searchlight Companion we can consider playing at the very least. 3 mana for a 1/1 flyer and a 1/1 on the ground. It's obviously really good with Ninjutsu, that's the idea there. Don't have a ton of that, but it's still fine. Another Sky Swimmer Koi is also fine. Mnemonic Sphere might be good in here. Definitely not the kind of card you want to put in every deck, but when you're just digging for specific ways to end the game, like a playset of Imperial Oath, just setting up some card draw in the early game seems fine. I am massively low on creatures, though, as I said before, so I probably need to take Sky Swimmer Koi, but I do think Mnemonic Sphere would probably be fine in here. My creature count's actually getting a lot more reasonable now. I have 8, and I have a lot of sagas. 5 sagas? 13? Actually pretty reasonable. I do have double Modern Age and Air of Enlightenment. I already have really good scry and card draw, though. I'll grab another fish. Uncharted Haven, another great little option for splashing stuff in. Cyber Trespassers is actually kind of fine, slowing down your opponent. But get that mana fixing, help get that Long Reach of Night in there. It's going to be one of our better cards off the splash. It'll be sweet stuff. And just taking the highest rarity card every pack. There's a Papercraft Decoy. Doesn't actually look great in here. It's probably getting the axe, getting the cut here. But we'll see. So we have 42 cards in here. Yeah, cut 1 card and a land. It's probably Papercraft Decoy. Oh no, I need to cut 3 cards because I'm trying to play 18 lands. I was about to make this a 16 land deck. That is not where we want to be with the triple or quadruple Imperial Oath. We might even be cutting the Shrine Steward. It's a little risky when you only have 1 aura or shrine, because then this card becomes horrible if you draw your aura before your Shrine Steward. So ideally, I want like 2 auras or shrines per Shrine Steward on average. That way, the odds are actually quite a bit more likely that we hit a Shrine Steward before we're out of auras or shrines in our deck. When it's a 1-to-1 ratio, you're playing with fire there. Because you're just going to draw Tamio's Completion turn 4 or whatever, and then draw the Shrine Steward turn 5, and all of a sudden you have a 5 mana 3/2 with no text, which is a really, really bad card. So I think we actually need to cut the Shrine Steward with 1 aura in the deck. Double Sky Swimmer Coin might be a little much. Specialist, we are ninjutsuing on 3 ideally, which with double Disruptor is very possible. And Papercraft Decoy does look a little whack in here. Although Suit Up doesn't look super good either. Playing around with combat tricks. I guess Suit Up could activate a Prodigy's Prototype out of nowhere. That's kind of cute. I keep the Suit Up in there. I didn't even realize it can just turn a vehicle into a 4/5 till end of turn as well. Activate a vehicle without even having a creature out to do so. Yeah, this looks super reasonable to me. Just got a Papercraft Decoy, call it a day. And this is our blue-white control deck. Just Imperial Oath all day. Actually, I just realized this is a 17 land deck still, so I'm going to go ahead and cut a fish here. Cut a Sky Swimmer Koi. Get it to that 18 lands we wanted at. Okay, now we are good. Now we are a deck. Alright, here we have a look at the final deck build that we'll be playing with today. This is a blue-white control deck with a little splash of black. So the main aspect of this deck is casting a turn 6 Imperial Oath. We have 4 copies of this card and they will absolutely take over the game. The way that this card works, if you have so many copies, like having a full playset in a 40 card deck, is that you're basically going to make it to turn 6, slam down an Imperial Oath, and ideally just start scrying towards your other Imperial Oaths to just keep slamming down way too much power level in the late game for your opponent to keep up with. So the plan is to get to those Imperial Oaths, start looping Oaths and really big cards in the late game. The way that we're going to do that is to set up our draws in the early game with Air of Enlightenments, scrying 2, gaining 2 life, keeping us alive there, and searching for those Imperial Oaths. Couple Modern Ages, drawing discarded cards to set up our hands. We have Ecologist's Terrarium, pulling a land out of our deck, and Sunblade Samurai also being able to pull a land out of our deck to make sure that we have 6 mana on turn 6. We're also playing 18 lands to make that even more likely. And the way that we get around that and not flood out having 18 lands and 2 ways to tutor out lands is that the Imperial Oaths are scrying when we're casting them, scrying any extra lands that we hit to the bottom of our library. So that is the core of the deck. We are just trying to get to 6 mana and win the game slamming down a bunch of Imperial Oaths, or if we're lucky, farewelling for a big one-sided board wipe. And yeah, that's the core aspect of the game. The middle ground of the deck is just a bunch of just solid defensive stuff. 3 mana 3/4, 3 mana for 2 1/1s, 1 in the sky and 1 on the ground. This vehicle here that can block as a 3/4, which is quite big. Long Reach of Night makes our opponent sack 2 of their cards, or discard 2 cards and then flips into a 0/4 blocker. The one thing I don't love is when you have aura-based removals alongside Long Reach of Night, because then if you draw both of those cards together, they're going to be awkward. But we've only got 1 of each, so it shouldn't happen too often. But it is possible we lock something down with Tamiyo's Completion and then our opponent just sacks it because it's locked down anyway. So that's always awkward. But we're very low on removal, so we have to definitely play Tamiyo's Completion and Long Reach of Night in here since they both sort of hit that level there. So it's pretty much the whole deck there. Looks like it's going to be some pretty sweet stuff. I'm very excited to get into the gameplay, so let's just hop into it. Here we are in game 1 with a bit of a risky keep here. 2 6-drops. Only a Network Disruptor and a Prodigy's prototype to play in the early game. I'm going to roll with it, hope for the best here. We are running 18 lands, so if we can just keep hitting lands, get to these Imperial Oaths, this could be pretty sweet. So we'll start off with our turn 1 Network Disruptor. We did draw into an Uncharted Haven, so we'll play that as a black source next turn. Opponent's going to start with the Zeus's Many Journeys, letting them play an additional land, so they have 3 lands out on their turn too, so they are ramping up, and that is pretty scary here, because we again don't have a lot of action here. We can't even crew the prototype unless we draw another creature, so very possible that we just get beaten down before we can cast Oaths here. If our opponent's ramping this much. Luckily, they still don't have a play with 4 mana out on turn 3, so part of me says that's kind of lucky, but the other part of me lives in fear of what they've got in their hand if they don't have anything that costs 4 mana or less. This has got to be an explosive hand here. Maybe a bunch of Harmonious Emergences. The 5 mana 4/5 Vigilance essentially could be bad for me. We have drawn all the lands that we need. We've drawn exclusively lands so far this game, so we will be casting Imperial Oaths on turn 6 if we make it there. Alright, Sunblade Samurai from our opponent. That is not as bad for us as the Harmonious Emergence would have been. Although, I guess we drew into a Moonsnare Specialist, so if they played Harmonious Emergence, we could just kill the creature permanently. But I'm still going to play the Moonsnare Specialist here, because it's going to allow me to crew my Prodigy's prototype and get an attack in with it to get another blocker here, which feels very good. So that's what we're going to do. Really nice turn there. Incredible draw hitting that Moon Snare Specialist turn 4, really solving a lot of our middle game problems, giving us a creature big enough to crew the prototype and slowing our opponent down at the same time. Love to see it. And Long Reach of Night is the next draw. Just some beautiful stuff. Definitely just slamming that down. They have to discard a card or sack a creature at a point where they already have 6 lands on board. So highly unlikely they have more lands in hand to discard. Yeah, they had to discard a Befriending the Moths, so we're going to get some huge value from Long Reach of Night. Our opponent did hold all of their creatures back here, so Prototype can't attack in well. But I guess that was already the case because they just played a 4-4 this turn. Obviously a 3-4 can't attack into a 4-4. Alright, send in the Samurai. Do I want to block with Prototype in a 1-1 here? It seems fine. I've got multiple Oaths to take over the board after this, and Prototype's never going to hit in as long as they have a 4-4 Vigilance anyway. I'd actually rather block with a 3-4 and a 2-2. I guess either way does the same thing. They just kill the Prototype. And I probably should have crewed with Specialist block with 3-4 and 1-1, because that does play around a combat trick a little better. I guess the 2-2 is moderately better than the 1-1. They do not have the combat trick though, they're just going to kill the Prototype. And we've drawn 3 Imperial Oaths. I don't even have to scry into the other ones. I'm just already set up. And here's my 6 mana. Let's do our thing. I could not foresee my opponent winning here unless they have like Farewell and stuff. Sure, I'll draw a completion here. Normally I'd scry it onto the bottom so I can hit more proactive plays with my Oath. But when I have 2 more Oaths in hand, I know what I'm doing the next 2 turns anyway. So I can afford to just sit here drawing some more removal, setting up. And we've already played the Long Reach of Night, so we don't have that missed synergy or that nombo of completion on board, and then our opponent just sacks whatever we completed. They do have a Farewell. Alright, I was going to say that's literally the only thing that could go wrong here, but I have 2 more copies of Imperial Oath, so if they just do it immediately, then it can't go wrong. Now I have a Behold the Unspeakable coming up, and a Modern Age. Do they have 3 Imperial Oaths as well? Because then we might want to draw into our own Farewell. They cast nothing. Do they have multiple copies of Farewell? How could they cast nothing there? Is it all removal in hand that they don't want to just kill a 2-2? I mean, if they Farewell me after this next Oath, I still have Behold and a removal spell, so I think we just cast it. Because, I mean, if they don't Farewell here, they're just 100% dead. I can't think of any other card that would survive 6/2/2 Vigilance attacking them next turn. I guess that's only 12 damage on board, so they only need 2 blockers to survive. If they get 2 blockers out, we can only hit them for 8. So any combination of 2 blockers or 2 removal spells does give them another turn. Alright, they're just going to scoop them up. Don't know what they had in hand there. Maybe they have a 3rd color as well, some kind of splash, and they just didn't have the mana to cast anything in hand. Because, yeah, 3-card hand there. It wasn't a land. They didn't play any lands. Nothing they wanted to play against 3 2/2s on board. Not even like just playing a 3/3 as a blocker or something like that. Weird. Probably stuck off of a splash color or something. But we'll never know. Alright, this is a definite keep in game 2. We don't have any action in the early game, but that's actually kind of beneficial for a hand like this when our game plan is going to be Farewell. We get to use our Sunblade Samurai to make sure that we have the 6 mana we need turn 6, and then we're just going to Farewell everything our opponent's done throughout the game, and hopefully that puts us quite far in the lead. Now it is okay to run up a little bit into our Farewell, so I might just Modern Age here. So we are doing something in the early game. So as long as we don't like super commit into it, Network Disruptor is not really going to impact this game whatsoever. I'll discard that. Because I'm not going to want to play a Network Disruptor pre-Farewell, and post-Farewell I want big creatures like the Samurai. Oh, my Modern Age is tapped. Right, draw, discard again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to discard one of these lands. In worst case scenario, I channel the Samurai on turn 5. If I don't draw a single other land in the next 3 turns, then I'll channel the Samurai. I am getting hit aggressively enough. I might play Companion here too. Alright, that's it. That's every card I'm casting till turn 6. But yeah, Companion's not that impactful after a board wipe either. So we will just get it on the board because it does look like it'll significantly slow our opponent down here. It blocks their 1/1 flyer and their 2/1 on the ground, significantly reducing the amount of damage we take in the early game. So we're still not under that much pressure. Hopefully our opponent has some good plays here. The one thing I hope they don't have is a Modern Age. If they have their own Modern Age, the Containment Construct lets them draw a card and then discard a card to the Modern Age and then play whatever they discarded. So the combo with Containment Construct there is you play your Modern Age, draw a discard, just discard your land drop for turn and then play it immediately. And then you just turn Modern Age into draw 2 and get a 2/3 flyer, which is ridiculously good. Oh, this is not the flyer. They killed the flyer. Well. Getting ninjutsu'd now. Alright, yep, that's pretty good value for our opponent. They draw a card the first time that hits us, and every other time they draw a card, discard a card, which is really good with Containment Construct here. Luckily, we do have the 1/1 to block that. Keep that from happening again. I'm down to 13 now. They're getting beat up. Another Moon Circuit hacker. I did hit the land I needed. So I know I'm turn 6ing this Farewell. I can't play any creatures here. All I can do is hold up a suit up, so the play is predetermined. We just pass. Probably going to cast a suit up though, so that I get 2 blocks out of my 1/1 instead of just one of them. I'm probably actually killing the Containment Construct here, because I can't kill both hackers off of 1 block, but I can certainly kill the Containment Construct off of 1 block. Have their own suit up. Moon Snare Specialist. Good gravy, this is bad. Do I die next turn? Oh, they're bouncing the glider. Alright. Might not quite die then. Especially since I drew another blocker. So they draw a discard, they'll have to actually discard a card here, instead of just playing whatever they discard. They discard the Moon Circuit hacker, so they drew something better than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage on board. They could kill me with ninjutsu. I think I play Guardians of Oboro and the Modern Age. That makes the most of my mana, and it's putting a creature on board that I wouldn't mind losing to Farewell. And the Modern Age is not going to be lost to Farewell, because I can just choose not to exile enchantments. Probably discard the fish here. Although Specialist, not great against ninjutsu. Fish being in the sky is pretty good. Alright. We're just trying to survive this turn and then Farewell. Yep, that doesn't look good. It must be a big ninjutsu card in their hand, probably. Only taking like 2 damage on board. Is it the Death Touch Lifelinker one? Kill my guardians? It is. Alright, so we lose both of our creatures. Preferably they recast their Network Disruptor and play their last card in hand as well. But it'd have to be a really cheap card left in their hand to do that. Oh, it is? Oh, please recast the Network Disruptor. Oh, why would you not? Oh, because they can tap down one of my blockers and lethal me. That makes sense. I don't need more lands after this. I discard the Terrarium. I guess it gets my Black Source, though, if I draw into that. But I need the flying blockers for this Network Disruptor. And I want the 4/4 as well. It's awkward, but I'm going to discard the Terrarium. Exile all creatures, artifacts, graveyards. We do not have any graveyard synergies in our whole deck, I believe. We do not. But our opponent might, so we might as well. Alright. We're set up. That's definitely a good draw after the board wipe. Sets up their future plays. Discard the Network Disruptor so there's something better. Oh, it's just another Network Disruptor. Alright. Good amount of thinking there. They're just like, what is this? Alright, there's a 2/3 flyer. There's a 3/3 flyer. There's also a 1/1 flyer. Lets me draw a card, discard a card. Thanks to the fish. Alright, all we're really looking for now is our... do I have another Modern Age in this deck? I do. I'm not going to play this land then. We're just looking for our oaths. Just start looping oaths together and win the game off that. Again, I am pretty low on life, but 3 flyers out to block theirs. Relatively safe. There we go. Let's start this engine, shall we? Ooh, hey oath. Hey, next oath. I'm just going to play it real safe and only attack with the Samurai. Keep every single creature untapped every turn. Though a 2/3 blocker does kill one of the Samurai each turn, but if I'm looping multiple oaths together, it's probably fine. Just lose, oh my god, lose 1 per turn. Hit for 4, lose 1. I'm gonna wait till I'm attacking with 6 of them. Because then I hit for 10 and lose 1. And then it's just like, hit them twice and I win. Ooh, that's a draw too. Very good card there, Roadside Reliquary. Very good land to draw. Now a Searchlight Companion. Well, our opponent definitely has a game plan here. Which would be to get enough flyers to just shoot me for 4 and kill me. I kind of want to play it really safe here, actually. But I guess I can't have 8 mana to where I can play Oath and hold up the gain 2 life. Yeah, I mean, I guess. I think next turn I am going to cycle the Samurai to gain 2 life and play the Behold the Unspeakable. Yeah, I'm going to shuffle my library so the prototype's going to go away. But I'll draw into the Behold for next turn. And that should just lock things in there. Behold the Unspeakable makes all their creatures 0 power for a turn. I get another huge swing in, and then I have a gain 2 life sitting there in hand. I can use at instant speed. If they somehow clear out every single flyer that I have, then I won't just straight die. And yeah, the Oaths are just gonna loop together into a victory again. Ridiculous card. Moon Snare Specialist. They kill one of my flyers, get rid of the Modern Age there as a flyer blocker. Or flying blocker. And here's where we pop off. They did not have the counterspell, so we are probably good. And those creatures are still going to be -2/-0, even if... Oh no, I should have played around ninjutsu. And say they're still going to be -2/-0, even if they get rid of Behold the Unspeakable. But if they ninjutsu something in, whatever they ninjutsu in does not have -2/-0. Luckily, there's no ninjutsu that does 6 damage. So unless they have 2 ninjutsu cards, they can't kill me on the crackback, and then they just die next turn. But that was dumb. I probably should not have attacked with the flyers still, so I could block 2 of them. But even at that point, that doesn't play around a ninjutsu card. It just plays around them having 2, because they have 3 flyers total. Which means that they can ninjutsu 1 in no matter what. High speed hover bike, okay. If they top deck a ninjutsu card that has at least 4 power, I'm actually dead. I guess they can't crew that. They don't have the power to crew that. Never mind, we're safe. We're safe against anything. The biggest ninjutsu card is 5 power, and I can cycle Samurai. But yeah, that was bad. I probably should have played it really safe. And just, not attacked with either flyer. Because I left myself open to dying to double ninjutsu. Or high-speed hover bike plus ninjutsu off the top. Although again, I guess that wouldn't work, because they couldn't crew the hover bike and ninjutsu a card out, because none of the creatures currently on board can crew the hover bike. But say that I made that attack, and they have 1 card in their hand, and then they draw for a turn, and then they attack me, and then they just go ninjutsu a 3/1. Where is that? Yeah, ninjutsu a 3/1 and ninjutsu the 5/5. Then they're presenting 8 damage to my face, and I can only gain 2. And that would have put me to exact lethal. Wait, why does it say I'm at 0 here? I won this game. Oh, that gave me a heart attack. Oh my god. I was like, wait, was I not at 4 life there? I guess because they scooped while they were attacking. And whenever that... I have no idea. I have no idea. But I've definitely had that happen before where I'll attack an opponent and then they'll scoop and then it'll like put their life total at 0 and then whatever damage I do, it'll put them at negative that much. I don't know why it put me at 0. I don't know. That was scary. All right, we are 2-0. I did not screw up math. I was at 4 life when they attacked me with that 2/2. But yeah, I should have played more defensively with the flyers there in the very end. But still, really, really good stuff from the deck. Really love how this deck is built. It is functioning just perfectly. Well, that looks like a hand in the deck that we have crafted today. That's the keep. That is a 6-mana Farewell, a 6-mana Imperial Oath, 5-mana Sunblade Samurai. We just hope our opponent can't kill us by turn 6, and if they can't, we will probably win. That is just the name of the deck here. Our opponent is a very aggressive red-black artifacts deck, though. They start with a turn 2 Patchwork Automaton that gets a +1/+1 counter every time they play an artifact. Then they play a Bronze Plate Boar turn 3, a 3/2 Trampler that can reconfigure as an equipment, giving something else those stats. Play my Prodigy's prototype with no creature on board, but as soon as I get one, I will have a 3/4 blocker. Now a runaway trash bot, luckily for us, that has 0 power, but it does make the automaton bigger, and now a bronze cudgels, making the automaton a 4/4. That is a little awkward because that is going to make me want to farewell the all artifact. I am going to era here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just really want the gain life from the era. I think I just put these both on bottom because I'm going to cycle the Samurai next turn. I guess if I cycle the Samurai right now, I don't have a confirmed play for turn 5. Whereas I could play a 4-4 instead. I might just die before this farewell. Neither of these cards help me not die, so put them to the bottom, but then I might just gain 2 get a planes here. Take 7 this turn, take 7 next turn. Yeah. I gain 4 life max. If they do 1 extra point of damage, I'm going to die. And Bronze Cudgels will do that. Does 3 extra damage here. I'm going to die 1 turn too soon because I just did not draw a creature to play before turn 4. Four, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I go to 1. There's no way. Just have 1 creature to crew this prototype. Probably get there. But I can play 1 blocker now. Probably have to just cycle this thing while I have the mana to do so and hope I draw something just perfect. Behold the Unspeakable. Did not draw Behold the Unspeakable, so we're at 5 life and no blockers this game. Did not draw any creatures there. Unfortunate. Punished for the 6 mana keep. We've got a creature this time. We've got a Network Disruptor. Throw a counter on it to crew prototype with it. Much better start to this game. Probably need to mulligan more aggressively with this deck. I get really excited when I see stuff like Farewell in the hand, but I need to realize I have plenty when it comes to 6 mana plays to absolutely take over the game. What I have less of are good early game plays, so I really just need to mulligan into the good early game plays and just respect that I'm going to draw the 6 mana plays by turn 6. I have 5 of them. So, last game definitely should have been a mulligan. We will learn from that. We'll mull those away in the future. Probably just got overly excited because it worked out well in the game right before that one to just keep that hand. Master's Rebuke. Goodbye, Network Disruptor. Play a Terrarium for Swamp. And then I'm going to play Disruptor, put a counter on it next turn. Let's actually play Prototype next turn. Then the turn after that, Disruptor, put a counter on Disruptor, crew Prototype. Seems like the line. Drawn our Specialist as well, which is beautiful. Our opponent has both of their colors now. They are on mono green when it comes to basic lands, but they do have a Network Terminal down. 2 shrines, the Mill Shrine and the +1/+1 counter shrine. Very not into that. Very not into that. Mill is not fun. Just bounce one with Moonsnare Specialist right now to slow them down. They can just recast it next turn because they trigger in the end step anyway. Yikes. Probably just get on a beat down here. I think Goshintai of Lost Wisdom is actually just really good against our deck, because we are a slow, grindy kind of deck. We can definitely get milled out here. It's already Millstone stats. It's milling us 2 a turn for only 1 mana. Yep, not into it, not interested. They milled one of our Oaths as well. Yeah, we're also kind of a combo deck too, which is super bad for us. Because they can mill our really important pieces like Imperial Oath. Well, they put 2 counters on Goshintai of Lost Wisdom, making that mill one a 2/6 flyer. I think I put that back in their hand here. So I can get a good attack in this turn. And they're going to trade the Fang of Shigeki into the Prodigy's prototype, most likely. But that Fang's going to be here forever. We don't have a lot of removal in here. We have a board wipe, which is one Tomio's completion. Alright, we're beating down a bit. It's going to be our only way to potentially win, but Double Shrine is still brutal. 2 +1/+1 counters a turn as well. They've milled our second Imperial Oath. We only have 1 Oath left in the deck. Some very good mills for our opponent. We've just had a land instead. And they've got a 2/6 blocker that's going to be really rough to get through. Drop an Imperial Oath. I don't like any of these cards right now. These are all super bad. Let's just keep 2 of them and they can mill those 2. That's fine. Yep, keep 2 of them. They mill these 2. I guess I'd rather have them mill a Modern Age here. It's just too slow. It's never going to get through 2/6. Searchlight Companion's a little better, but it's not good enough that I want to top deck it next turn. So just mill these. I attack with everybody, I lose Network Disruptor, and I deal 3 damage to them. 4 damage to them, put them to 10. I put them to 10. Next turn I attack with everybody, lose a Samurai. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put them to 2. Alright. I guess I put them to 4, because they put counters on the Boundless Vigor instead of the Lost Wisdom. To make that a 3/3, then they have a 3/3 and a 2/6. No, don't play more creatures, please. We're desperately seeking our farewell, I guess. Just exile all enchantments and that's it. Master's Rebuke a Samurai. Yep, blocker plus removal spell for a Samurai. Gonna get us pretty bad. They are not going to mill us this turn, they're just gonna get the counters, which means I guess we just play the Modern Age. Probably scry then draw. Because then if there's something good right on top, I put that in hand. Neither of these are good. I guess I let them mill blind because I can actually Modern Age here. That's reasonable. Oh my god. If they mill Farewell, I think we just scoop. That is the green shrine, the white shrine, and the blue shrine. Alright, come on. Draw, discard again. We've scryed a lot, now we're drawing again. Oh, we gotta be able to find this Farewell, come on. Play Guardians and suit up here. Statistically speaking, there is no correct time to cast Suit Up. Like, I'm not supposed to Suit Up right before they mill, because what if Farewell's the top card? Because what if it's the third or fourth card? Or the fourth or fifth card at this point, I guess. Where I would have drawn it if I did it after they milled. Which is so brutal. Because no matter when I cast Suit Up, I feel like it's going to be the wrong time. Like, if I Suit Up right now, it's not going to be Farewell on top, and then they're going to mill Farewell because I Suit Upped. But then if I Suit Up later, then Farewell is going to be like the literal top card. It's literally full RNG. There's no correct time to go for the draw here. Please not Farewell. Please not Farewell. Please not Farewell. Okay. Goodbye. It was the second card, so we couldn't have done anything there, even if I suit up. It was gone. Will I learn from my mistakes in our first loss? I feel like our second loss was just... That was just an incredible deck from our opponent. That was just the lack of removal in our draft pod getting us there. But our first loss, definitely, I just should have mulliganed. I actually have a Modern Age here to set up to actually play some stuff early game, but then I'm going to have to discard some Oaths, which feels bad. I'm just going to mulligan. This hand is worse. Still don't have a white source, and the Disruptor doesn't accrue the prototype, so this card's basically blank unless I draw another creature. Big yikes. Do I just get rid of prototype here because I need to hit 6 mana for Oath anyway? I guess so. Big yikes. Big yikes this game. Hopefully our opponent is not aggro like the last red-black deck we played against. They're on blue from Uncharted Haven. We drew into an Ecologist's Terrarium, essentially just drawing into a 5th land, which we will need eventually, but a little awkward to draw it this early. We definitely don't need it right now. Reckoner Bankbuster. Okay, so that makes me feel decently safe now. It's a nice slow card. Very good card draw engine. For the next 3 turns, they can just spend 2, tap it, remove a counter from it, draw a card. And then after they've removed all 3 of these counters, they get a treasure and a pilot that can crew the vehicle, which is a 4/4. It's just a nice little card draw engine. Alright, so they're going to pass turn. Let's get our second white source for Farewell. That is land number 7 for us, which is quite awkward. Obviously, our curve stops at 6, and we hope to scry stuff away. Okay, well, Disruptor's flying, so the suit up didn't really do anything there. They could have got it mixed up with the Streets of New Capenna one. The Streets of New Capenna version does give flying. But they still drew a card off the suit up, but they could have just drawn a card off Bankbuster's ability instead. So I don't think that was the intended use from our opponent there. Drawn to another Disruptor. I can't block Infiltrator with the first one anyway, so I might as well hit them for 2. Because if I pass turn to them with my Disruptor untapped, they'll just attack before they play anything, and then they're threatening to buff it to kill my Disruptor without losing a creature. So we just can't really block Inkai's Infiltrator reasonably at all. They are blue-black. They're probably just like blue-black ninjutsu, just with a really awkwardly slow start. Yep, looks like what it is. Moon Circuit Hacker here. Draw them a card. They're getting some very good value, but Imperial Oath can try to keep us in that game too. There are some counter spells in this format. They aren't extremely highly played, generally. But this weird, kind of slow, grindy deck from our opponent, they could be coming out here, but it looks like our opponent does not hold up any mana for any if they do have them, so we can just slam down an Oath, and that is, that's some really good stuff. And I think I just keep playing Oaths first, right? Then I Behold, and then I Fish. They are down to 11. Covert Technician, 2/4. Very good at blocking 2/2s. They can crew the Bank Buster for 3 power, so they could tap Infiltrator and Hacker to have a 4/4 blocker up. So that's probably the plan. 2/4 blocker and 4/4 blocker. They have 2 blue and 1 up, so they could have the counterspell here. I'm not going to play around it, though. It's generally very unpopular in this format. And playing around it is just playing Modern Age, which is significantly worse right now. Actually, I can Modern Age Behold the Unspeakable instead, which isn't that bad, but I want to just have as much power on board first before I Behold. Alright, cool. Okay. Just keep throwing those on top. If I play this land, I can theoretically Behold and Modern Age in the same turn later, but then I just mill my Koi off of the draw discard. I'm not certain that's where it's at. They need 4 mana to use this, and they have 3, so we still get to send in with the flyer at least. Oh no, they got another suit up. Yep, suit up copy number 2. Plays pretty well for them. Wow, that suit up would have made attacks really bad if I went all out. No, you're not supposed to have Behold the Unspeakable. That's for me. Okay, that just holds us off for 1 turn here. And I'm just going to cast another Oath, so the turn after this Behold, I'll have an absolutely massive attack. They are down to 4 cards and... Whoa. Well, I guess because everybody has 0 power, they might as well. Hit me for 5? Sure. Down to 13. Draw a card, discard a card. Oath, 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 oath. Just copy 3. They gotta love that. I'm actually gonna put the island on top, because then I can next turn go Island, Behold, Modern Age, and then just mill this island. And that way my hand is completely gone, so when Behold does trigger the Scry 2 draw 2, it'll be a full draw 4 instead. That gives me a way to completely empty my hand without milling the Koi. That sounds perfect to me. Sounds perfect. Alright, scry 2 to the top and then draw 2 from our opponent. Drop a swamp, land number 8 for them. They've got that treasure from Bank Buster as well, so they have a ton of mana this turn. 9 available. Bank Buster did spit out a pilot as well, so the Bank Buster can get crewed by just this 1/1. Another Covert Tactician, or Technician. Runaway Trash Bot, nothing engraved, so it's just a 0/4. We've died to a 0/4 Runaway Trash Bot earlier today. 0/4 Trash Bot plus some cudgels on it. Alright, opponent is completely tapped out, so we know that Behold the Unspeakable plus Modern Age does get to happen here, which is beautiful. Let's just Behold first. And then attack with everybody and then Modern Age. They could have ninjutsu here, but we're at 13 life, so the odds of their ninjutsu like killing us are pretty low, and if they had a really good ninjutsu, they would have just hit us with Infiltrator this turn. And I only have one flying blocker anyway. I forgot these all have vigilance, so I guess the only way they're ninjutsuing is off the Infiltrator anyway. Which I already wouldn't block, because they can buff it up even if it has -2, -0 right now. Currently hit them down to 1 life, and looks like that's going to happen. They're going to go to 1, and we're going to drop a Modern Age, so our hand is empty when Behold the Unspeakable triggers, and we get to draw 4 off of it next turn. Alright, they need a lot of blockers to survive. They have 7 blockers right now, we have 10 attackers, so they need to play 3 more blockers or removal spells. Kami of Restless Shadows is 2 more blockers, because they have the Kami and the Moon Circuit Hacker. If they have another 2-drop creature, they've got it. They've got exactly enough blockers. And there you go, Network Disruptor. That's exactly 10 blockers for my 10 attackers. If they hit us with anything, though, they die. Alright, so don't attack with anybody. Let's draw 4 and then draw discard. Ooh, Tamiyo's Completion is lethal. So we're just going to lead with Tamiyo's Completion. And then attack with everybody. And if somehow I miscounted, I just play a bunch of creatures. And the majority of my field is untapped anyway. They have 9 blockers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 10 attackers, and they're at 1 life. So yeah, this is lethal. This is exact lethal. They can block everything but Network Disruptor. And take just 1 damage. Do they have a 1 mana trick? I don't think there are any in the format, and they are going to scoop them up. And it's going to be 3 and 2 now, at least an even record here for the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty Quick Draft. Well, when it comes to early game plays, this is one of the best hands we've drawn all day, so snap keep. And pretty much all of our early game plays in this deck, or most of them, help set up our late game plays with the Scry 2, the draw discard, all that kind of stuff. So very into this hand. You know, with picking up the extra land with Terrarium. 2/2 First Strike's going to be really good against the Exemplar, so I'm going to play the Era of Enlightenment before I cast the Modern Age. We do want to hit 6 mana, but we currently have 4. Island Plains, another Plains in hand, and a Terrarium. I'll keep one of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I just need to draw 1 more land throughout the rest of the game, and I have draw discard. Like, I don't want to flood out super hard, but I also definitely want to hit my lands, so I'm going to keep one of those too. And even that might be more than I need to, because again, I have 4 already, and I have draw 2, discard 2 coming up. Alright, well, 2/2 First Striker no longer going to be a good blocker for the Agonjo Exemplar. That attacks as a 5/3. Sure does. I've got a suit up at least. I just trade a suit up into it. I can't sit here and take 5 damage every turn, so I might trade a Suit Up into it. Suit Up's going to be really good with the Air of Enlightenment, though. So, take another 5 to set that up. Probably okay. Now it's definitely okay if I know I have a Farewell coming up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. Feels real awkward to discard Disruptor, but doesn't really do much here. It gives me something to cast this turn, but again, the 1/1 flyers are not very good in this deck. Just not doing a whole ton. Jukai Naturalist, sure. Play a Sky Swimmer Koi this turn, but I want to cast a Suit Up this turn. I definitely need all the lands. I could just go chump block mode. Because I just need 2 more turns before I play Farewell. So I just go chump this turn, chump next turn, Farewell. Sure, I guess we just go chump block mode. Actually, this is a 5/3. We can also just do this. Force removal. Or threaten to kill that on attacks. Totally forgot Terrarium does more than just getting us a land right now. Also make Hand of Enlightenment a big enough blocker to stop Exemplar. Ooh, not if they give it flying. Not if they give it flying, that's for sure. So chump block this turn, chump block next turn, Farewell, and win the game post Farewell. That's the plan. I am not going to play Prodigy's Prototype because they do have a good artifact that I want to exile here. However, I need to draw another land. If I don't hit a land here... If I don't hit another land here, Prototype doesn't even help me at all right now. Because they're already not attacking on the ground. I just need flying chump blockers, so maybe I play Koi. I still very much win the game, even if I Farewell away my Koi. Because then post-Farewell, it's Imperial Oath and Prodigy's Prototype. Like, come on, that is more than good enough. Could double block and go for the trade. Then I lose all the flyers immediately. Shrine Steward, that's probably grabbing removal, but it could be grabbing a shrine, and we could have another one of those matchups that demolished my soul. Intercessor's Arrest. Well, I hit the land for Farewell, but if I cast it right now, they're still going to have an Intercessor's Arrest in their hand, and they are not giving something +1/+1 flying this turn, which means I can just chump block the Exemplar on the ground with Hand of Enlightenment. So they arrest the flyer, I chump block the Exemplar. Really tempted to go Prodigy's Prototype, though. Because this looks really suspicious, not casting anything. If I cast Prototype, the problem is I can't exile artifacts as easily. I would probably just let them keep the Katana if I played Prodigy's Prototype. They're going to rest the first striker, so all we have is a chump block this turn. We'll take 6 and they have 1 card in hand. Or I just take 3 and they have 1 card in hand, sure. They play the 1 card, I will be monumentally happy. But it looks like they are not, they're just going to equip. Alright, we do the thing. Pass turn, and we have Oath into a bunch of other plays. And last card in hand looks like it was probably just a land. So loop the Oaths into victory, let's go. Yep, this is just the auto-playing Magic right now. Not much needs to be said here. The deck plays itself from turn 6 onward. That's already lethal. Imperial Oath, a very fair Magic card. Farewell, really, being the fairest card in that game. We're going to be 4-2 now as we head into Game 7. Game 7, we do have a Modern Age turn 2, which is a little bit more early game than we've had in some of our games. I think I'm probably just going to keep here, and I'm just going to be very open to discarding an Oath. We still get to play 3 Imperial Oaths, even if I discard one of them. But being able to play one of our Sagas on turn 2 is really important, because we don't actually have that many early game creatures, we have the early game Sagas. The problem with that is, because they take a few turns to flip, we really need to cast them on turn 2, so any hand that has a Saga turn 2 feels like a keep to me, because we can guarantee that's flipping as soon as possible. Instead of the game that I lost to the Greedy Mulligan, where I drew the 2-mana Sagas, which are like sort of creatures, but they just didn't flip in time, because we didn't play them till turn 3, turn 4, so we just died before they ever flipped. Being on the draw certainly does not help in getting your Sagas flipped soon enough as well. Like most limited decks, this deck does feel significantly worse on the draw, but with this deck it's not because it's particularly aggressive, it's because of the amount of flip Sagas that we're relying on in the early game, that we just want them to be creatures as quickly as possible. And when you're on the draw, they're going to be flipping a turn later. Oh, that's a very cool pet from our opponent, the Ocean Soldier. Very iconic card. 3 mana, 1/4. Vigilant artifact creature. I wish that got a reprint in Brothers War, but they probably just didn't have space for something that kind of narrow or unexciting by modern day standards. Well, we've got a plan here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do need to draw 1 more land. Maybe I should have discarded an Oath just to be 100% guaranteed that we have 6 mana turn 6. But again, we're an 18 land deck. Drawing another land should be possible. They have a Courtyard on Moonfolk and a Courtyard on Ninja. If they're just a 2-color deck, the Courtyards are probably just making their mana more awkward than if they just had like Island Swamp Swamp right now. We're getting ambushed. And a Okiba Reckoner raid? Uh-oh. Might get aggroed out again. I did play this Modern Age ASAP, which is good. Network Disruptor is not going to block anything well. It's a 1/1. I'm going to discard that. Play the Era. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I do need that. Prototype's fine here. We're going to have a 2-3 flyer next turn. Prototype can also survive the farewell. Unlike these. Opponents at 28 life from all the life gain from the Ambusher and the Reckoner raid. And they're stuck on mana here, which means they still have 3 cards in hand. We're wanting them to dump all of their plays on board as quickly as possible, but they can't. Which is probably beneficial to us overall. Because they can probably still cast most of their hand by the time we can cast Farewell, and at least this way we're not just like dying because they dumped everything so fast. Very awkward mana for our opponents starting this game off. Double Courtyard here, so they just can't play any non-creatures really. Because those Courtyards are only going to give them another color of mana for casting Moonfolk or Ninjas. Otherwise they have to just play mono black. Virus. The virus beetle. Well, that's not ideal. We have to say goodbye to an oath here. I need every land. Very good virus beetle from my opponent. Good value for them here. Alright, they know we can just block with that prototype, so no attacks. Do I stick super defensive and hold the prototype back, or do I send that bad boy in? Get a 1-1. Doesn't even attack in super well, because it trades into just Ambusher. They block with Ambusher Road Captain. Probably just pass. Hold it up as a blocker. There's their blue source. So now they can cast probably whatever. Go Shintai of Lost Wisdom. I am glad my Farewell's in hand. I'm not dealing with that nonsense again. They're going to have 2 cards left after I Farewell. I'm going to have Imperial Oath left. It's not as guaranteed of a win as it usually is, but it should still be pretty solid here. I think I'm supposed to just cast it right now, most likely. It is good enough. I'm not likely to get much done with these 2 creatures, but maybe. Maybe they get something done before they die. Just get 2 damage out of the deal here. Yep. Cool. I guess I was the only one with a graveyard there, but whatever. I have no graveyard synergy anyway, so it's all good. It's all good, man. Ooh, Behold the Unspeakable. Okay, now I'm pretty sure we just win. Long Reach of Night as well. Really good on this board state. Actually, Guardians of Aboro with the +1/+1 counter from that thing, the Ecologist Terrarium, is an actual synergy. We could have kept those 2. It would have still been kind of slow, and probably wouldn't have been cast for some time because I'm going to keep playing better cards like Behold the Unspeakable and Long Reach of Night, but it would have been cute and definitely, you know, wouldn't be unplayable. Again, Guardians, it can attack if it's modified. So if we play that and put a +1/+1 counter on it with Terrarium, then we can attack with it as a 4/5, which is cool. Still probably better that we put it on bottom, but I wasn't accounting for that when I dumped it on the bottom. I was like, oh, blocker, get it out of here. But technically, with those cards conjoined, it's an attacker. Long Reach of Night looks really annoying for my opponent right now, so I kind of want to do that instead of Behold. They have 2 cards in hand and 1 creature on board. Long Reach of Night should be pretty devastating. We know that they're not lands in hand as well because they've been stuck on mana. So this will be a massive nail in my opponent's foot. Massive thorn in their side. Oh, discard their own Long Reach of Night. That's actually a pretty solid discard for them, because I am getting a 1/1 every turn, so I could pretty easily just sacrifice 1/1s to it. Ooh, they do have an artifact and enchantment, so they gain a life, draw a card when they play that. Very nice value from the Kami of Terrible Secrets. It's a solid-sized blocker as well. We are going to have to Behold to attack in well again, but once we do, we can do it easily. I've got a Moonsnare Specialist to bounce one of my Sagas later, which will be really nice. Cannot attack in with the 1/1, but everybody else gets in nice and easy. Yeah, the snowballing kind of just exponential growth sort of effect from Prodigy's prototype. Really, really nice to have on the board after a board wipe. Just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling into more and more. It's the Limp Bizkit song all over again. Tameshi is a very good card. For a white and X, return a land they control to their hand and return an artifact or enchantment with mana value X or less from their graveyard to the battlefield at sorcery speed. So if we just keep bringing things back, I think we're still quite far in the lead. But out of everything they played, that is the closest to actually giving them some chance at turning things around. Again, I think we're still doing great over here, but it's a reasonably scary effect. And they do have a lot of toughness over there. This is a big deal. Disactivate abilities? It does. Secluded Courtyard on Moonfolk can activate Tameshi's ability, a white and 4. They bring it back to the hand or battlefield? To the battlefield. They can bring Long Reach of Night right back. Or a Searchlight Companion, just keep doing Searchlight Companion every turn. Yikes. I don't want to have to put the Specialist back in their hand, but it sort of feels like I might. So I want to be able to specialist my Behold the Unspeakable. I think we can probably wait a turn. Play the Sunblade Samurai. They're going to get their Searchlight Companion back, I guess, and draw a card. Tameshi's really good. But then I'm going to attack him with Behold the Unspeakable and bounce it back to my hand with Ninjutsu. I guess I need one more card in hand to do that. I shouldn't have played my Samurai. Or one of my lands. Because Behold's attacking is a 3/3 flyer, and they do have 2 flying blockers, so they could double block it right now. Yeah, Ninjutsuing Behold is actually a little more difficult than I thought it would be. Their flyers are just very sturdy. Need at least 4 power to get through the Puzzle Maker. Okay, they're just going to go for the Long Reach of Night. This is fine by me. I would rather they choose that than the Searchlight Companion right now, honestly. Because the Searchlight Companion they can block, get into the grave immediately again, whereas Long Reach of Night's going to take a long time before it gets back in grave. Ooh, Suit Up. Suit Up is going to make him hold attack very reasonable. And now we have Tamiyo's Completion for Tameshi, so we're actually just good. Shuts off all the abilities? Yes, it does. Okay. Well, Vision's not going to be big enough to attack, but we get to shut off Tameshi. And Vision doesn't have haste anyway, so I was just kind of losing it the whole time. That was not a good idea. They could kill Prototype by double blocking with these two without losing a creature, and they'd take like all the other damage. I think I'm just going to use Suit Up aggressively here and just get in. Alright, I think I would rather kill the... Oh yeah, I can ninjutsu, but I want a ninjutsu vision. I'm gonna kill the flyer that has the most power here. The most chance of killing my vision or something like that. And they're down to 10. Pass the turn. Got one of these really wide board states. Just one of these board states that makes it just unplayable on mobile. Imagine you're trying to play this game on the toilet. Your board is just like 10 creatures wide. Trying to assign blockers with your giant fingers. I actually upgraded to a new phone about a year ago because my old phone couldn't run Magic Arena on mobile, and then I played it for like 10 games and I was just like, Magic is too complex to play on such a tiny screen. Even if it runs perfectly on your phone, it's just not going to work. Just go for it. Boop that. Attack all. We're just going in. Doing the thing. Two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're already just dead, so we just let it happen. Cool. 5 and 2 it is. Heading into game number 8. Alright, here we are on the play for game 8. Excellent hand. We've got good mana. We have a 3 mana 3/4 defender. That is what our deck is all about right there. Got the Behold the Unspeakable if I can hit one more blue source by turn 5. Opponent is on a very aggro deck. Turn 1 Okiba Reckoner Raid. Not into that, but I am into drawing into the Modern Age. Very good draw. Second Modern Age? I think I discard the Sunblade Samurai because the Modern Age is going to draw discard twice, which sort of does the same thing of tutoring out a land for us. It's going to draw us enough cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to play Gardens of Aboro this turn. We don't want to discard a land here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Land Aboro. Next turn, Searchlight Companion or Modern Age. We need to discard one of these two and pick which one. We're going to want to play turn 4. Opponent starts with Okiba Reckoner Raid and Tawashi Songshaper. We need blockers. We need Companion. I'm going to discard Modern Age. Opponent is aggro. We just need to survive till 6. Really just till 5 here because we have a Behold the Unspeakable. So we need to take every line we can to do that. Another Songshaper? Oh yeah. Highly aggressive deck. Definitely the stuff you can expect from high mythic ranks. Those are the decks you can grind out for some quick wins. Prodigy's Prototype have a 3/4 blocker at the ready. That's pretty appealing. More appealing than getting 2 1/1s here? Not really. Play the 2 1/1s first, but Prototype's a good card to have. Seismic Wave. Only shoots non-artifacts, right? Yeah, so at least we get to keep Searchlight Companion, which stops the Sling from attacking this turn, but they can reconfigure the Sling later, still get extra damage out of it. Or we just trade and take one here, sure. Island off the top, fingers crossed. Island off the top, let's go. Oh, Jesus. I've done some digging for lands with Modern Age. We have not drawn any extra. But I have not scryed away any lands. I haven't discarded any lands. Nothing I can do about not hitting the 5th land this turn. We might just lose for it. I guess the only thing I could have done would have been to not discard the Sunblade Samurai. Or the other Modern Age. I could have done more drawing discarding here. But I really needed to get those blockers out. I'm happy with playing all those and making those blocks. We've got an Oni Colt Anvil now, so they have long game. Or late game inevitability, because they can keep sacking their stuff. Getting 1/1s off of it and draining me for life. We're pretty dead. Prodigy's Prototype, unfortunately, pretty bad here. All our creatures have died, so doesn't do anything. Yeah, I guess we should have kept Modern Age. Sunblade Samurai wouldn't have got us there because it wouldn't have hit the blue source for Behold. So Sunblade Samurai was a fine ditch, but if we'd kept that other Modern Age, we would have gotten a little closer to hitting an island. Still would have hit in time, though, because that's a plains, not an island. But it is what it is. It happens. Brutal way to end, though, knowing we would have handedly won this game if we just hit island turn 5. It was within our power to do more things to try to do that. Could have kept that Modern Age, but I was expecting to hit lands with the 18 land deck. It was a little greedy. But again, even if we kept Modern Age, we wouldn't have hit it in time. Because we just had a plains coming up. And Sunblade Samurai certainly wouldn't have helped. Because it wouldn't have hit the blue source. Dang. Yeah, that sucks. Again, blue source turn 5 is Behold the Unspeakable, shut off all their attacks that turn, scry 2, draw 2 to guarantee we hit the 6th land, then we just go Oath into Oath and handedly win. But we missed some lands, and we lost the game for it, so gonna be 5-3 to end off today's draft. Very good record overall. I do think a little bit disappointing, though. I thought this deck was pretty sweet and super fun to play. There were definitely some flaws in the deck. Obviously, we do not have a lot of good early game blockers. We really need to be casting these Creature Sagas turn 2, and there were some self-imposed gameplay errors there that caused 2 of those losses. The second loss, the loss against the Shrine deck, our deck just can't compete without hitting the farewell, and they milled our farewell, so that game just kind of was what it was. That game was always going to end up with us crushed with only one removal spell. The only thing we could have done about that was we could have taken some of those. The only removal spell we saw a lot of, or a few copies of, in the draft was the 4-mana exile a creature with power 4 or greater or an enchantment removal spell. And I don't value those super highly, but they would have helped us win against that Shrine deck that we lost against. The problem with those is those would have had us losing even harder to the last deck that we fought. And that's why I don't love that card, is because like it is quite good against the green and white like enchantment-based decks, but it's like really bad against like the black-red artifact aggro decks. It's not very good against ninjas either. So it's bad against some of the most aggressive decks, which I thought were going to be some of the worst matchups for us, and they were some of the worst matchups for us, but again, not having those 4-mana, Banishing Light style exile creature with power 4 or greater exile enchantment did get us killed against the Shrine deck as well, so again, that one, I don't think you can say that it's just 100% an error in the draft that we didn't end up with any copies of that, because again, it was a conscious decision to be like, yes, grabbing that makes our deck better against like green-white enchantment stuff like that Shrine deck we faced off against. But I figured we had a decent matchup there because we have great late game and the farewell, of course, for against those matchups. But the matchup that we were really hurting on would be the quick aggro decks, where that card would be just horribly bad. So that's why we lost that round against the Shrine deck. We just didn't have the removal to get rid of those Shrine cards. And that was the only removal spell we really saw in our draft pod that we could have taken and didn't. And then the reason that we lost the other games was partially due to gameplay error and partially due to some deck building errors. The biggest thing being these network disruptors here. We're sort of hedging our bets when we were planning between blue-black ninjas and blue-white control. I know one of these we just got really late, so we're like, all right, whatever, might as well. But the reason I was considering them a lot was because we could have been like blue-black ninjas and stuff. They're definitely good there, but they were pretty bad here. They were basically just a 1-mana 1/1 that was going to sit there and then chump block at some point, which is super bad. So replacing this with something else could have been quite nice. And the Prodigy's prototypes also played pretty poorly for us because we don't have a lot of cheap creatures to crew these because they just don't have enough power, like the network disruptors are just 1 power. Obviously, it was great with all these sagas and the Searchlight Companion Guardians, but these were the big things we could have changed drafting deck building wise. Would have been Disruptor and the prototypes. The prototypes, of course, were good after a board wipe, but pretty much everything's good after a board wipe. So it's possible even just deck building wise we could have changed this up a little. Looks like not really. The better build of this deck probably involves a Papercraft Decoy over a prototype. Or over a disruptor. I guess the decoy can crew the prototype, so we cut 1 disruptor, leave the prototypes in, but put a decoy in that can crew it. That gives us another 2-drop play that can actually just hit the board and immediately trade into something. We don't really mind that much that we're not drawing a card off of it. That looks like about the best we can do out of what we drafted. So obviously during the draft, taking some more reasonable early game blockers would have been helpful against the aggro archetypes that we lost to today. But other than that, still pretty happy. The majority of the cards in the deck, I think, were pretty well drafted, pretty well built. I loved the whole idea of having these early game sagas that are setting up our draws, giving us the scry, giving us the draw discard, eventually turning into creatures to trade off to really set up to dig to those late game oaths. Love the decision to make the 18 land deck. Maybe we should have even gone 19 lands, as we saw in that last game. Really just needed that second island by turn 5 or turn 6 to win that one, and we just could not get there off of our 9 islands. So that last game, definitely brutal, having the Beholden hand, knowing what could have been and not getting there. So definitely happy with an 18 land build here. Maybe even a 19 land build would have been reasonable. Biggest different changes during deck building, could have had, suit ups, prototypes, network disruptors, stuff like this, change them out into just better early game blockers, and I think we could have had a very good, possibly even 7-0 deck today, because I think maybe with some better gameplay decisions, we could have had a 7-win run today. Maybe if I kept the second Modern Age there, got a little bit more draw discard. We know that we wouldn't have had Behold Unspeakable turn 5, but we couldn't know what was on top of our deck or what was the card after that, so we might have had it close enough to survive there if we kept the other Modern Age in that last game. And in the other early game, I think it was another red-black aggro deck that we lost to. Those were 2 of our 3 losses. That one was a bad mulligan on my part. I just got overly excited. After game 2, I kept a hand that had like Farewell Oath and not much else and won. And then I got the same hand in game 3, and I got overly excited because I won that last game. But I really should have been like, listen, our early game plays are going to set up the draws. They're going to get us to those. We have 5 6-drops. We're going to hit one of those by turn 6. We do not need them in the opening hand. We need early game plays to survive to cast those cards. I should have mulliganed in that round against the first red-black deck. So that was the big gameplay error there. So 5-3 it is, though. Very respectable run and a really fun deck. I had more fun with this deck than I thought I would after I swapped into the Farewell blue-white deck when I went in to just go aggro ninjas. I probably had more fun than I would have with aggro ninjas. It was a little more interesting. Something I do a little less often. So really powerful stuff here. Very good run today. Just a 5-3 though. I think it could have been better, but close enough to greatness. I'll take it. 5-3, 650 gems, and a Kamigawa Neon Dynasty draft booster, or just a regular booster as our prizes. Well, that is going to end today's draft. I hope you all enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed playing it. We've got great stuff on the horizon on the channel. We've got the Arena Open for the Brothers War sealed this weekend. Very excited for that. I will be playing in that and hoping to get to day 2, because day 2 will be Brothers War draft. That'll be really cool. We then have some qualifier weekends coming up in December that are also Brothers War limited. This happens every time a set releases. For the first month after the set releases, there will be some competitive events of that limited format, and I like to play in as many of those as I can get into and bring videos of those for you all. So plenty of Brothers War competitive stuff on the horizon, and whatever other limited formats, draft and sealed, they put on Arena. So plenty of cool stuff coming up. If you're interested in seeing all that and you just want to see some more of these videos, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That'll let the YouTube algorithm know to send some more of these videos to you in your recommended feeds. And once again, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.